from the day that he stepped into office, everybody's agenda except ours was on his agenda. And everybody's agenda except ours has been at his door every day since he walked in there. And if we're not prepared to take our agenda there and push for our agenda, we're not going to have anything really happening. Now, I use that as a preface to ask or pose the question that really kind of channels or challenges the assumptions of the title of this panel. Are we really in the age of Obama? Did his election create, the fact of his election put his stamp, his vision on America? And I would argue that we're not, and in fact, his election has frankly empowered the opposition. And what we've been going through over the last 2 years, at least, has been a reassertion, affirmation, if you will, of the basically the Bush agenda.
Let's be clear on definitions and defining of terms. The Ku Klux Klan is Christian. The transatlantic slave trade was conducted by Christians. There were Christian churches in the slave castles at Elmina, Cape Coast, Goree Island. White Christians worshiped before they sailed and screwed black cargo across the Atlantic. There are homophobes who are Christian. U.S. militarism is Christian. God bless America. U.S. capitalism is Christian. We call it the prosperity gospel, American style. White supremacy is Christian. J. Cameron Carter, in his book, Race, a Theological Account, gives you the historical background of the racist thinking sewn into the theological fabric of Christianity from the 1st century to the 21st century. If you're talking about what Dr. Hendricks accurately assesses as Constantinian Christianity, the Christianity of the empire, the right-wingers are more Christian. But if you're talking about the religion of Jesus, the Christ who said, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these, my little ones, you've done it unto me, then Black Liberation Theology is the only Christianity in the discussion. How do the priorities and policies of the Obama administration, such as health care, war, tax bill, Recovery Act, etc., align with Black Liberation Theology? How do those priorities and policies align? Well, Israel was left out of the such as. Gaza was left out of the such as. The establishment of a military base in Ghana was left out of the such as. The priorities and policies of this administration, like previous administrations, are at odds with the teachings of Black Liberation Theology. At times, the priorities and policies are diametrically opposed to some of the items on the agenda of Black Liberation Theology. I was in a conversation with Judge Griffin today from Little Rock, and I pointed out to him, I repeated to him what I said to Barack to his face, not before the media, till the media got a hold of some of it. I will work as hard as I can, and I did, to make sure you get elected on November the 4th, and on November the 5th, I'm coming after you. Because it's not about you, the person, it's the policies of this government. And when those policies are in opposition to what Black theology is about, then I am committed to being a person who's responsible to God and not to government.
When we talk about churches, Black churches and their tradition, though I have total and utmost respect for Jeremiah Wright and his pastorate and what he's done in his church, I'd say it in his presence and I'd say it out of his presence. I've said it all over the country and on the media, and I've said it on Fox News. That didn't go over too well, but O'Reilly wasn't smart enough to trip me up, so it didn't really matter, did it? But I'm not as high on churches in general. It has not been, the churches have been a place where our people can be somebody, sometimes the only place we can be somebody, is a place of tremendous nurturing and empathy and support. But they have not always been about fighting for justice. They've not always been progressive. In fact, many of our churches today, and it seems like more every day, are regressive. And so I think that has to be acknowledged.
I'm going to say something different. I'm not so much worried about upsetting the president as I am upsetting James Cone, because what I'm about to say is a little radical. We might not have any Black theology anymore. And that's a different thing to say. See, I speak from a different seat here. I'm speaking from a related seat to Reverend Wright. I am a historian of African American religious history. And if I look at the church right now, I see a fragmented shell. I see great churches in urban areas that are doing wonderful work in their communities, but I don't see that unified church. Now, as a historian and academic, I know there's never been a unified black church. It just doesn't exist. That's this thing that we see on the movies, like, First Sunday or something like that, right? On the commercials where they're making fun of black church. But I say this because the moment that comes to my mind is not about how to do black theology in the age of Obama. It's the president crying at Dorothy Height's funeral. Now, why was he crying at Dorothy Height's funeral? That was a passing of a great lady, but it was also a passing of an era. It was a passing of an era when you had African-American civic organizations that could work together towards goals.
You said initially, Obery, that you don't subscribe to any theology consciously, and you don't just now say you don't believe in theology. Dr. Butler says theology is an elitist project. Well, if you're talking about systematic theology, systematized theology, Jacqueline Grant, Katie Cannon, John Kinney, Jim Cone, yeah. I'm talking about what people believe. That's theology. What you believe. That's theology. Because how you see God, and you see him as liberating, and I agree with you, determines how you see humans. Your theology determines your anthropology, and your anthropology determines how you order your society's sociology. So I'm not talking about a systematized doctrine of same substance, truthful substance, the incarnation, all God, all man, transubstantiation. I'm talking about what do people believe. Now, going back to, part of the problem is, as I see it, that we're agreeing on some things. You keep going back to the church. I don't know who hurt you in church, but you tell me, and I'm going to get it. But again, theology, Dr. Butler, you're right. Theology has to do more than with what Christians believe, because everybody in the black community is not a Christian.